Hi guys, I'm back and I'm ready for all the biscuit making that will go with our cheese. So I forgot to remind you in the previous video to please make sure that you're following all your health and safety and your hygiene rules. Make sure that your hands are clean, you're wearing an apron. If you don't have an apron at home, then please wear a big shirt or something that you don't mind getting dirty and that is clean and can be washed after. I'm going to show you what I've got ready. The biscuits aren't going to take a very long time, and they're using a method that you've used before, which is the rubbing in method. So here we go. I've got some Parmesan cheese, and sorry, it's the plate is the same color, so it's very difficult to see. I've got the leftover lemon zest from making the cheese because I don't like to waste anything. I've got some black pepper, I've got some cubed butter, I have some thyme because we love thyme. I have the flour, I have a bowl and my equipment. And then over here I have my trays which are lined with baking parchment and my cooling rack all ready. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you is please do not throw away your whey from your cheese making. I'm actually going to use my whey on the top of my biscuits instead of using milk or an egg to glaze. So I'm going to use a little bit of the whey so that the parmesan can stick on top of the biscuits. You can also make all sorts of things with your whey. You can make scones. I make rusks, which you guys won't know, but it's a very South African thing. So I just freeze it until the time that I need it and then use it for whatever recipe I'm making. Pancakes, scones, rusks, whatever. So I'm going to take my flour and I'm going to take my butter. And these are actually very rich biscuits, guys, because you are using the same amount of butter that you are flour. So you've got 100 grams of butter and you've got 100 grams of flour, which is not like your typical short crust pastry, or even when we're making a crumble or anything, or scones. Any of those that we're using the rubbing in method, they're not the same because we've got a lot of fat to flour content here. So again, please make sure that you're using a rubbing motion like that, and you're going to take up some butter. Mine's very cold because I've had it in the freezer, because that will make a very, very short, nice biscuit, which is what you want with cheese. And you're going to carry on with the rubbing method until it's breadcrumbs, and I'll be back to show you when we get there. Right, so I'm back and we have got lovely combined butter and dough, butter and flour to make our dough. So now we're going to add the cheese and our flavorings. Right, so I'm going to add the cheese, but remember I'm going to reserve a little bit of cheese for the top. So I'm not going to use all of it at this stage. Right, going to add my zest. Going to add some pepper. And I'm going to add my herbs. Right, so now I'm going to mix all that together. Make sure I've got everything from the bottom to the top. Sorry, trying to get my hands so that they're not in the way. And then you're going to start squeezing the dough until it comes together. To form one solid piece of dough. Right, so there you have it. We have one solid piece of dough, and I'm going to take that out, and right next to me I have some cling film ready, and I'm going to form the dough into a cylinder. Okay, so this might take you a little bit of time just to get the shape right. So what you want to try and do is just roll it a little until you get a cylinder, and you'll need to push it back together again, and I will come back and show you what that looks like when I'm done. Right, now your recipe says to cut it into two, but I don't see the need for that, so I keep mine as one log, and I've roughly shaped it now. It's not the final shape that I want, but I'm going to very carefully wrap it in cling film. Try not to get any cling film caught up and folded. Right, and you're going to fold that around, and then you'll find that it is much easier to shape it than when you're rolling it. So I'm now going to shape it with this until I'm happy with the shape. Right, I'm happy with that shape now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in the corners, fold over the edges, not the corners. Right, and I'm going to pop that into the fridge, or well, I'm going to pop mine into the freezer just so that it's quicker, and then I'll be back to show you how we're going to cut it. I also wanted to say that you can also roll this out, and I would recommend that you roll it out between two pieces of cling film, and then when you have finished rolling it out, then you can actually cut them out with cutters, but you do have to be careful because the dough will be very, very fragile because it is such a short mixture. The fat content, the high fat content in the flour is going to make these biscuits very, very crumbly, so they're going to be more difficult to roll out. This is why this method with rolling it and sealing it and putting it in the fridge is actually much easier, but you can roll it out and then cut them out with a cutter, but then use a palette knife to lift your biscuits onto your tray, because if you try and lift them with your fingers, they are going to break. Right guys, so now that's been in the fridge, well, it's been in the freezer for 10 minutes, and I'm just going to unroll it, and I'm going to start slicing, and I have my baking tray in front of me, and I'm just going to start slicing those. I'm going to take the end off, and that one's just going to be a little, I always bake them, and about 1 centimeter rounds. Oh, be careful, just push them together if they do break. There you go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move it round, and I'm going to carry on doing that until I have them all on my baking tray, and then I'll be back to show you. Alright guys, as I've been cutting these, I've been finding that doing a sort of a sawing motion in two is a much easier way of cutting these so that they don't break. Right, so that's what they look like, and I'm now going to use the whey just to pop a little bit of whey on the top of each of these. Now you can use a pastry brush if you want to, but I've always found that just using your fingers and just tapping lightly with some whey on your finger is a much easier way of doing that. Right, so now I've done that, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put a little bit of Parmesan on each of these, just a little touch, and then I'm going to pop them into the oven. Right guys, that's them out of the oven and cooling down. You'll see that they're just a nice golden brown on the outside. Don't bake them too long because they will burn, they will go too dark. They will still be soft when you take them out of the oven, but I promise as soon as they are cool, they will firm up and become nice and crisp and very short, almost like a shortbread biscuit, like a savoury shortbread biscuit. And there you have it, homemade soft cheese with Parmesan biscuits. I also just wanted to tell you that if you can't make the biscuits, then please just make the cheese, just so that you can see the reaction and the denaturing of the proteins, because that's what we're looking at. As soon as we combine acid with a protein, acid from the lemon juice with the proteins in the milk, they are going to denature, they are going to change shape, they are going to clump together, and they are going to form curds and whey, solids and a liquid, so they're going to separate. Very important for you to remember that. It's one of the key terms that we're going to learn and have to take through into our exams next year. Have fun, guys, and let me know how it goes.